welcome to No Recipe Required. I'm Dave, and tonight I'm going to do a roast for you. In this case, a pork roast. Now, it happens to be Sunday. It's a day that I love doing these kind of roasts for the family. This one, I've got a pork loin. I'm going to actually show you how to butterfly it. And we're going to smear some herbs and some garlic, some other wonderful stuff in there. Roll it back up, roast it in the oven until it is cooked to perfection and absolutely delicious. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here is our pork loin. Now, I got it. I like to buy mine with a good amount of the fat cap still on there, because that is going to that's going to kind of crisp up and make a beautiful beautiful topping for our pork. Mine, I don't know if you can see, but mine was tied when I bought it from the store. If yours comes tied, just untie it. Not a big deal. We're going to split this open like a book so that we can stuff it. And mine's kind of got a natural flap here. And I'm just going to go right down that flap and open it up, and then go kind of horizontally through the rest of the meat there, the pork, and just continue to open up like that. And then we've got our pork loin wrapped up. We're going to smear our rub kind of right in the middle here and fold it right back up. Okay, we're going to make a little paste for our pork by adding about 2 tablespoons of butter, maybe a tablespoon and a half. This is roasted garlic. That is super easy to make. And then herbs. You can add almost any herbs you want. I'm adding sage and rosemary, about a tablespoon each. And then about 2 tablespoons of parsley. And I'm just going to let that butter melt down. And I'm literally just going to take kind of my wooden spoon and mash up that roasted garlic and make this into a nice paste. Okay, I've got everything pretty well smashed up. Doesn't have to be super fine or anything like that. You just want it broken up. A little bit of heat is going to bring out all the flavors. That was the zest from a lemon. I'm just going to work that in and then transfer this into a little plate to hold. Okay, so we've got our pork cut and we've got our paste nicely mashed up. So I'm just going to take this and just spread it evenly over the inside of the pork. Okay, so you want to spread that paste out, as evenly as possible. Not a big deal if you got clumps here and there. It's not a huge deal. And then we're just going to fold this pork loin back up just like it was before we cut it open, and then use some twine, some butcher's twine, to tie it together. Probably, depending on the size of your loin, you could have one this big, you could have one this big. Probably every 2 inches or so on the loin, and then get it nice and snug. Doesn't have to be super tight. And then we're gonna come back, season the outside. We'll cook this baby off. So I always start a roast like this on top of the stove, right in my roasting pan. Good hot pan, probably medium heat, olive oil, and then our seasoned pork roast. Now remember, you gotta go, even though we did the inside, you gotta do the outside, salt and pepper. And I started on the fat side so that gets nice and crispy first. Okay, so I browned 3 sides of my pork. This is the side unbrowned. I'm gonna finish by putting that down. And remember, this is my fat side. I want that up so it gets nice full heat and kind of caramelizes and the fat renders out. Now, I'm doing my pork with some vegetables. I've got some cute little baby carrots. Aren't those nice? And then I've also got some potatoes that I'm going to throw in here. Now, the only thing you got to be careful of is you got to cut them to the size so that they'll cook through, in about an hour. That's a different lesson. Just be aware of that when you're loading them up like this. I'm going to drop this into my 380 degree oven. I'm going to stick a meat thermometer in there, bring it to 140 degrees. Okay, so we're going to take our pork out when the temperature reads 140 degrees, right in the center. It's important to let the pork rest for a good 10 minutes or so. So while our pork rests, I'm going to deglaze the pan with a little white wine. Okay, so I reduced the wine now, and as my pork was resting, some of the juice ran out, so I just took that right from the cutting board, added it into my reduced wine here. That was chicken stock I'm going to add, and again reduce it down by half. We've got a little bit of rosemary here, and I am just going to let this all kind of come together and come to a nice kind of syrupy, almost syrupy consistency. So as an optional step, I've got a little bit of leftover roasted garlic. that I pulled out of the fridge, and this is the same garlic that we put in the roast. I had too much. I didn't put it in. So what I'm going to do is just kind of mash it up with a little fork here and add it right to my sauce, and that's going to add some additional wonderful flavor. So just mash that up, add it in, stir it in, and you're good to go. Once our sauce is thickened down or reduced down, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to kill the heat and just stir that butter in. And that's going to thicken the sauce a little bit, give it a nice glossy texture, and obviously a great flavor. So we're ready to serve this up. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so we've got our porchetta, pork loin that is rested. You can go ahead, you can remove the strings if you want. You know, generally it's pretty easy to cut around them. I like to use a serrated knife to make a few slices. And certainly once you make the slices, it's easy to just snap that string right off. You can see we've got that beautiful herb and garlic mixture in the center. Let's go ahead and plate this up. I'm serving mine. Like I said, I roasted some carrots and some potatoes. So just lay that pork out there. We've got our sauce, which we can just drizzle right over the top. And we've got an awesome meal. I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required.